Yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't think about it, but yeah, I guess it's easier to sing for colds, anyways.
Yeah, it's an advantage, at least. But scheduling stuff is always hard. Like there's so many different time zones and stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, we actually held a vote some time ago, and most people voted for this time slot. So, unfortunately, other people will just have to make do with the recordings. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anyway, how are you guys doing?
Well, less hot than yesterday.
That's good. It's actually hotter today in Germany than yesterday. So,
It was
th
horrible.
thank you for trading that heat.
Yeah, Torgal, are you in Paris?
Wait, okay. No, I'm not in Paris. I'm actually in the south of France, but I'm coming to Paris tomorrow.
Okay, so did you have horrible
Uh,
scorching heat as well,
wait,
or
sorry. I did not hear you. If you
yeah,
said something.
did you have like a horrible heat wave in this house as well? I guess.
Well, yesterday, yes, but today that was okay. But I could not sleep yesterday or the day before, so I'm a bit tired.
All right. I'm not Israeli Fubu, I'm German. Um, anyway, yeah, we're a bit few people today. Maybe we'll wait for one more minute or so, see if more people join. Um, hey, Maestro, nice to see you. So, anyway, we're waiting for like another minute to see if more people join. Usually we're like around 20 people. Maybe with the heat and Paris going on, attendance is going to be a bit lower, unfortunately, but that's okay.
Numbers going up today, so that's fun.
Yeah, that's great. ETH is pumping. That's always good.
Are you going to sell? That's the question.
Oh no, I wouldn't sell. Just hold through the merge and hold for another year. So I know why would you sell now? We're still like down almost 70% or something.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding because usually like we're always happy when it's going up, but no one's ever selling, so it doesn't really matter anyway.
I mean, sure, if you're like a trader and you trade the bounces and stuff, and sure, go ahead,
Yeah,
do your strategy. But like I'm more of a holder.
that's true.
All right, so anyway, let's just get started. I'd say. So today we've got like a pretty packed agenda, which is awesome. We will have a presentation of iCar by Thomas, and I think Thomas is going to go into like two major areas, and then maybe we'll have him on another time to dive into some of the other areas. Then we'll have an update on Odyssey by Mist. He's been like fleshing out some of the game mechanics. And then we get an update on Deadly Games by Takizo. Takizo has been kind of shifting gears a bit with a project for some reasons that he might get into. So yeah, I'm excited. Hope you guys are as well. And I'd say the stage is yours. Thomas, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. So I'll try to share my screen because I did a little PowerPoint. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you?
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Not very good with that. Do you know how to start it by any chance?
Probably if you go to slideshow or view. So I'm not sure.
You guys know how to
So,
program the
Let's say
yes,
blockchain.
start. Yeah,
that's
there you
it.
go.
Okay, okay, nice. Yeah, so I'm going to talk you about what I've been building with my friend Luis for the past few months. Maybe you've heard about it. It's a game called Age of Acre, and this is a strategy game. So the story of the game is that you are someone who lived on planet, and this planet had a big problem. Its star was going to explode, so people had to flee from the planet to another habitable planet, and that other habitable planet is called Aekar. So you are the commandant of a spaceship, and you are, in fact, you play a group of colons who are going to reach this planet, and you will want to build an empire on this planet. You will want to be like the best player. You want to be the best, and it is So it is the lore is kind of everything is explained by science fiction, but you are never going to see science fiction related stuff in the game. It is going to look really like fantasy. You will even see dwarfs and dragon and that kind of stuff, but everything will be explained by science fiction. So, for example, dwarfs, the small people, they are small because they could not pay to take the spaceship, because it was quite expensive to book a spaceship flight throughout the cosmos. So what they did is they used genetics to have a really small child, so that their child could take the spaceship for half the price. And we have some explanation for this for a lot of things, and we try to play with that. Okay, so the first time you will come to the game page, you will be able to mint a colony. This is going to cost something like $10, and this will give you your first colony with a single plot. So a plot is something like that. This is like a cell on the map, and you will be able to control the troops on it. You will get 10 humans, and with these humans, you'll be able to use them to extend your territory, to get bigger colonies with more plot. And on those new territories, you can exploit resources. So that could be wood from trees, or that could be gold from gold mine and that kind of stuff. And those resources, you can use them to build new stuff, and also to form troops. And those troops can be used to attack other players. And when you attack other players, you are not forced to attack other players. If you want, you can team up with them. That's you are free to do whatever you want. Well, if you attack and if you win, you will win something that is called prestige. We are still not sure how we are going to implement it, but this is basically a score that measures how good you are at the game. And the game is going to last something like 3 months, at least at the beginning. That will be the first season. And at the end of this season, the player with the most prestige, so the best player actually, is going to keep a part of the money generated by the game. So you know, when you paid your first plot, well, that money was kept by the smart contract, and a part of it, so probably 50%, will be given to the best player. So that's the core game of Aekar. And on top of that, we are trying to build a lot of cool stuff. So for example, Sam is working on a guild system, and we want to build a guild extension for Aekar to improve the game and to be able to create really some things on top of Aekar. But that's the core stuff. And we faced a lot of technical challenges when building Aekar. So I choose 2 challenges that maybe you would be interested by, and I try to explain you how we tackled those issues. So the first one is the world, because we wanted the world to be it doesn't show everything. Okay, we wanted it to be infinite, or really big, at least not really infinite, but you know, incredibly big, and quite realistic. And we also wanted to have cheap interactions, so that you don't pay a lot when you want to prove that your interaction with this world is correct. And then we wanted a fast and as trustless as possible display, so that you could see this world, but you won't have to wait like 1 hour to see what the world looks like. So. And to do this, we used a lot of quite simple algorithm, but together they form something that is a bit complex, and I'm going to explain you the different steps that we use to get this map, and maybe that could be useful to you if you want to build something like this. So we started with an infinite grid. So to represent an infinite grid in StarkNet, or at least in Cairo, it is pretty easy. You just want to map XY coordinates with something. So that something could be a plot struct, which is what we do. And then you're able to store basically anything on your world. But yeah, we want this world to look like something. And to do this, we gave a coordinate to every plot of this infinite grid. So you can see this is the middle, and those are coordinates. I did not write all the coordinates because that would have taken too much time, but you get the idea. And once you've done that, you can give a number to any plot. So as you can see, this gives a kind of spiral. So this is a plot 0, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11, etc. This is like a really, really big spiral. And there is an algorithm which is called SUDZIC. In fact, this group of algorithm is called the pairing function. It allows you to map two coordinates to a single coordinate. And they allow us to get from a coordinate one of this number. And you can do the reverse. From one of this number, you can get the coordinates. And that is really useful because this gives us a seed for every single plot that we can use to initialize a random number generator. So a random number generator, it sounds a bit complex, but in fact it is really simple. We are using a linear conventional random number generator, which is basically just a multiplication and then a modulo, and you repeat the process a few times, and that gives you a pretty good number, random number. And this random number generator, we use it to generate another coordinate within every plot. So for this plot, the plot 0, 0, you see that the coordinate is here. And we did it for all the coordinates of the map. Well, in fact, we could not because the map is infinite, but every time you want to know how the map looks like, you can redo this computation. And then we do this. So this is called a Delaunay graph, and basically you create triangles from all of the points of your map. So the random points that we generated for every single plot. And this is really nice because it is quite cheap to compute, and this allows you to do a really cool stuff, which is called the Voronoi diagram. Maybe you've heard about it. And this allows you to create those really cool plots that look like polygons, a bit random. And in fact, how it works is pretty simple. You take your triangle, so here there is no line, but this is a triangle. And you will take the middle of every straight line, so here, and do a perpendicular straight line, like this. And then when two straight lines reach each other, here you stop them. And this will give you a kind of random plot, a random polygon around every single point. And because we have a single point within every rectangular plot, well, we get a custom looking polygon on top of every plot. And that is really nice because everything fits in, and that looks pretty cool. And this is an example of a Voronoi diagram if you draw it. By the way, something that is quite interesting about Voronoi diagrams is that they really look like some things that you can see in nature. So, for example, this is I think human cells. I don't think human cells, but cells of probably a plant looked at the microscope, and you see that it really looks like a Voronoi diagram. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like on the Acar world. You saw that it took a few seconds to generate the world because it is just computed by my computer every time. And here you see that I have this this world, and that's cool cell. But this only explains why the cell look like that, like their shape, but it does not explain their color. And something that is cool with those colors is that they really look like a real terrain. You have ocean, but you also have a plain and a jungle and a lot of different biomes, mountains, etc. And this is probably an iceberg. Yeah, this is an iceberg. And this is not purely random, because if it was purely random, you would have any connected cell will be completely different. But you see that when you have a cell that contains water, cells around it most likely contain water too. And this is done. Oh, wait. I think I forgot. Yeah. Okay. And this is done using a noise. So I think this is Bull or Dool, I'm not sure about the username, who is working on a noise, three-dimensional noise, simplex noise, 3D. And we use something that is similar, which is a two-dimensional simplex noise. And this is a random generation function, which allows you to get from two numbers, so a coordinate, two Aker coordinates, something that is a bit random, but not too much random. So this is what it looks like. And we use it to get the elevation value and also to get the climate value. So those values are between -1 and 1, and you can use them to get information about the plot. So you can know, oh, okay, this coordinate is -3 point and 5, x equals -3 and y equals 5. You do the simple computation, and you know, okay, this cell has this climate and has this elevation. From the client side, it allows you to display a biome, so here ocean, but also to know how you want the color to look like, etc., etc. And on the contract side, it allows you to verify that an interaction is correct really efficiently, because if someone, let's say, go fishing in the ocean, you can verify that the location where they try to fish is actually an ocean coordinate. And this is really easy to do. So that's pretty nice for us. Okay, so that's for the word part. So maybe if you have a question about it, I can try to answer them. No question? Okay, well, then I will show you the resources. So the resources are another problem we had, because we wanted to represent resources on Aker plot, Aker location, but the problem with that is that, okay, you can really bind something to a location using a simple mapping function, a storage variable which maps xy to a plot, for example. But the thing is that if you want to move some resources from a location to another, you don't want it to be instantaneous. You want to wait. So if you want to send, let's say, StarkNet sucks from here to here, so distance is 5 plots, maybe that should take 2 hours. And if you want to send it at 10 plots, that should take 4 hours, for example. But to do this, well, that's not easy with blockchain, because in blockchain you can really only, in a pure way, you can only do something in real time. So let's say that you want to store resources, to use resources in a normal programming way. In a game, you would have something like a database, which does the same thing than our function. It maps, it associates to coordinates some resources. And when you want to move resources from location to another, you compute the timestamp of arrival and you remove the resources from the current plot and you schedule something to add the resources into the other plot in the future. But that is really not something easy to do in blockchain. You can do it with something like a keeper network. So something like this is what Gelato does, for example. But this has some problems. Like you will need to pay for 2 transactions, which is not a big deal. But the second transaction, you don't know what is going to be the state of the price when you want to perform it. So let's say I want to send my resources. I do a first transaction to remove my resources from this spot. And then I get the right to, in 5 minutes, write that I received those resources. But what if I don't do it in 5 minutes? And what if I want to do it, but it is really expensive to do it because a lot of people, the network is really expensive at that moment. That's a problem. And the way we tackle this issue with iCar is we associated to every not resources, but okay, let's talk about the convoy. So to every location, we not just associated resources, we associated a convoy. So resources exist within the smart contract code, but user of the smart contract never access them. What they are going to access is a convoy. And a convoy is something that is a bit like a user account on Starknet. It can own things, and in this case, it can own conveyable. So conveyable, you can see them like a token, so like ERC20, that can be owned only by convoy, not by users. And convoy can be manipulated by users. So on a location, you associate a lot of convoys. To associate them, we used a linked list because that's quite cheap if you want to remove a convoy or add a convoy to this linked list. Much cheaper than if you just associated a normal list. And yeah, so a convoy has 2 fields. It has an owner field, so that can be your Starknet account address, and it has an availability field. And this is the way to fix our previous issue, because this availability field is a timestamp of when you have the right to use your convoy. So if you want to send a convoy of which contains a Starknet socks from here to here, you can just in a single transaction remove your convoy from this location. So let's say this is well, we don't care, from this location, and then you can write it at this location, but the availability field will be updated so that you cannot longer use it for, let's say, 2 hours. And that's a way to fix the problem. And this also allows you to do many more things. So for example, let's say you want people to be able to intercept your convoy. Well, this is pretty easy to do because you know the source, which is this coordinate, and the target, and you know how much time it takes to do this travel and what is the availability, so the arrival date. You can just guess what is the location of the moving socket, and because you can get this location, this means that someone that is, let's say, at here at this location, he can say, okay, I am on the trajectory of your shoes, of your Starknet socks, so I can intercept it, and you can verify that when I did my transaction, I was indeed 1 hour later you first sent it. So the Starknet must be on my location. And yeah, you can do many things like that, and this is really interesting. Okay. And now a mechanism I want to show to make sure it makes sense to how this convoy system works is that they work a little bit like UTXOs. It means that because you cannot directly access your resources, so your conveyables, what you can do instead is take a convoy and split it, or take 2 convoys and merge them together. So what it allows you to do is, let's say you have a convoy which contains 10 humans and 10 golds, and you want to spend 5 golds to build golden armor, so a new kind of resources, what you can do is in a multiple transaction that you will be able to merge. First, take your convoy, split it in 2 convoys, one convoy which contains 5 golds and the other convoy which contains 5 golds and 10 people, and convert those 5 gold into golden armor. And you can, and it is going to disappear. Or you can split your convoy, keep one convoy. Let's say I have 10 gold and I want to send 5 gold to someone. I can split my 10 gold convoy into one convoy which the availability field does not change, and the other convoy that I'm going to write at the user location that I want to set my gold to, and it will automatically update the availability field so to reflect the trajectory, the travel. Okay, and just to show you how we implemented the editor, so because this is a bit complex and we want for people it to be quite easy to use, so we try to come up with a simple design where you can take your convoys, select your convoys, and merge them or split them. I'm just going to show you the video. I think it will be easy to understand. So yeah, I show the convoy at this location. You see I have 3 convoys of 3 and 7 humans. So that's 10 humans to share. And I'm going to create one convoy of 5, one convoy of 4, and then it says I still have 1 human to use, and then I can transform my transaction. So now you have to wait for the transaction to be performed, and you get this. So yeah, that was for the resources. So again, if you have any question about it, you can ask. And otherwise, I will just tell you what other things we're working on, but just briefly because that takes a lot of time. No question? I hope it is not too boring, but okay. Here we go, the conclusion. So future changes or things that we are working on for now. Quest, this is a way to get people to be interested in the game when it is not released. So they will be able to mint an NFT, and they will be able to complete quests to improve the level of their NFT. And those quests could be things like following us on Twitter or tweeting about us, or things like that, or completing tutorial about the game. And once they reach a certain level, they will have the right to play the alpha of the game on the testnet. Resources prediction, this is something that my friend Luis is working on. This is a way to, so what we are trying to do is to find a way to create resources, renewable resources and non-renewable resources. So for example, gold is non-renewable. You can extract gold from a plot, and this is going to take a few weeks maybe, but the more you extract, the less you get. I don't know if that makes sense, but the first time you extract gold, you are going to get a lot of gold, but if you continue to do it, there is less gold in the mine, so you get less. That's non-renewable. And you also have renewable resources, so that could be fish in the ocean, for example. So yeah, we are trying to adjust the curve so that it is interesting for players. Again, about adjusting constant, this is the same things with combat, because we have a combat mechanism so that you can attack other convoys to steal their resources, attack colonies and that kind of stuff. And we have a working version, we think, but we need to adjust the constant so that the combat is not too good for attackers or too good for defenders. We need to find a good middle. Private information, this is something I'm really excited about, but I have no idea how to do it properly, so I need to gather information about that. But the idea is that you could create a trap at a specific location, and no one would be able to see that trap, but when someone tried to attack you at this location, his troops would die because of the trap, for example. Then there is this fair prestige distribution problem. We want to give prestige to players, but we want the game to be interesting, even if you are a quite small player. So we need to maybe to give prestige in a logarithmic way. We need to look into that. Market and economy. So yeah, you could trade ACAR resources. This will take time to trade ACAR resources, and we need to find out what resources we are going to create to make the market interesting. Guilds, well, we have some ideas for guild, but I'm not going to tell you them. I keep them secret for now, but we have some cool ideas for the ACAR guild plugin to add on top of the awesome work from Sam. And the last one is the indexer, using Francesco work, API Barra. We want to build a tool to index ACAR information in a geospatial database so that you can really easily and quickly get information about colonies on the world, because otherwise it would be really too slow to query information about every single plot. So we need to use something like that. But anyone should be able to run its own indexer if he wants to, and that's what we are trying to do. So that's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found it interesting.
That was awesome. Thank you, Thomas. Do we have any questions for Thomas? I found the first part pretty interesting, just to see what actually goes into like creating the world, right? If you want to make it infinite, but it has to scale, obviously. And I found the approach interesting, even though I lack the expertise to actually like really understand what you've been actually doing. But I found it interesting to see what actually goes into making like an infinite world and make it work within the game. So it was really cool. Yeah, any other questions? Maybe one question I have is, are you planning on implementing like the session key kind of concept where you allow users to not have to sign each transaction? Like I can see how that might take you out of the game, but also if each turn or each action has like a real world time of like 2 hours or even longer, then I can also see how that might not be too big of an issue. But I'm curious if you thought about that or if it makes sense for Age of ICAR.
Thank you for the question. It's really interesting. No, we do not plan to implement it because we don't feel like this is a good way to do it for ICAR. So you are right, you don't have to do many transactions for ICAR. And basically the way you are going to play the game is you connect maybe every day, and you saw how things evolved, you get your resources, you think about what you are going to do, and then you do those things. And so, for example, you split your convoys and you take your convoy to send them to another player. You get resources from another way you merge everything, etc., etc. The thing is that you need to wait for transaction to be performed to do the other action. At least if you do it with the session key, I think. So instead, the perfect world will be to create a customized version of Argentex, or even just to use Argentex and ask Julien to add this feature, and to add a way to stack transaction. So you will see your Argent wallet, and then you will be able to toggle an option which is a stack transaction. And when you toggle this option, you can do many transactions on ICAR, and Argent wallet would simulate this action. So let's say you merge two convoys, Argent Argentex will tell to iCar website, okay, thus that transaction was accepted, those convoys are merged. And we will be, okay, well, if they are merged, then I can take this convoy and send it to this location. Or I can take this convoy that is merged and exchange it for these resources, and then split those resources in two convoys, and take one convoy and send it to another location, etc., etc. And all the transactions would add up, they would stack, they would be stacked up in the wallet. And at the end, when you want to validate what you did, you would have a button that would be something like, okay, sign the global transaction, and it will do a multi-invoke. And it should work theoretically, because you don't have to wait between two transactions to, I mean, if you merged a convoy and then take this convoy to send it to another location, you don't have to wait. You can do it in a single transaction. So yeah, that's what we want, because we think that will be the best user experience and the cheaper also, because the computation fees at least are logarithmic. If you have the biggest transaction possible, that means the steps are cheaper. So the cost by step is cheaper if you merge all your transactions in the single one. So yeah, we think that's the best way to do it. And then once you send this transaction, you can wait maybe something like 30 seconds, the time for it to be validated. And then, well, you will have to wait for all the action to perform to be able to continue. So if you send a convoy from a location A to location B, and it has to take 2 hours, this is not something that you could stack. But every instantaneous transaction, we want you to be able to stack them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. That's a very interesting approach. I haven't heard of that before, I think. Sam, do you want
Just
to
to
say?
comment on that as well. Sorry, I think Realms have literally just implemented that, so like a transaction cart type thing. So yeah, you can do multi-call directly in StartNet.js. I've just made a PR to StartNet React to get multi-call in there as well. But yeah, that's definitely something that's possible.
Yeah, thank you. But the thing is that what would be really cool for us is that if it was in the directly implemented within the wallet, because we think that this can probably be used by other games and even really different projects on StarkNet. In fact, any project where you don't have to wait for one transaction, where you don't have to wait real time, you just want to wait for a transaction to be validated to do another transaction which uses the previous transaction. In all those kind of situations, it would be really useful to be able to stake those transactions. And we could do it directly in iCar. So yeah, that will be possible, but we will have to change a lot of things. And we think it would be better to do it on the wallet side, because on the wallet, it would probably be possible to write a kind of generic code which fakes the blockchain state and tell to your website, okay, this transaction has been validated, you can get this data. So you will not have to change anything to any website, but all the websites that can stack transaction will get this feature instantly. So we think that would be cool. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Definitely having something that anyone can easily plug into is better, rather than everyone having to build out the UI to handle it. So yeah, it makes sense. Sounds exciting.
Awesome stuff. That's really cool. I have to move forward with the agenda though. We have like 20 minutes left, so I'm very sorry about that, but we have to keep moving. But of course, you're welcome to discuss in text channels or wherever you want. Yeah, next up we have Mist. Mist, you've been working on some of the game mechanics for Odyssey, and you want to talk about that. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Thomas, for the presentation. It was super interesting. Yeah, as you guys know, last time. Actually, wait, I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah. So basically, last time when we spoke, I explained to all of you that decided to change the plans and actually not bring Arcane to Starknet, but rather bring the core of the mechanics, notably the 2D grid, and make something new, something bigger, and that would be a more exciting community tool. So Odyssey is basically like it's kind of a persistent slow motion Dungeon and Dragon with planets, but it's also, as I said, a community tool. It's trying to first of all to provide kind of a theater for NFT projects and DAOs, or like group of friends who are looking for a home from which their story can emerge, and at the same time, it's trying to experiment with new ways to interact with a group of addresses spatially. So basically, it starts. It's an NFT game first and foremost. So it starts with a couple of sparks that people are gonna mint. They're gonna be staked, and then people are gonna be able to redeem some homeworld. These worlds come with a different type of sizes, levels. Flux gouge, that's going to be the energy. A type, here you have Exo, Taurus, Akama, Orion, etc. These are going to be coming handy later for the type of production that they do, or the kind of transformation that you can do with the crafting. They're gonna have some biomes, so there's gonna be loads of different visual aspects, and some moons, which are gonna provide you with some passive resources as well, a little extra. The theme of the game, actually, it's funny that Acar, I think it's great what you're doing with trying to do something futuristic, but at the same time keeping it kind of heroic fantasy, because it brings you to a place where you're not really sure where you are. So it's definitely something that I'm trying to do here with Odyssey as well. We have a lot of projects on Starknet which are very futuristic because there's star in the name and everybody's trying to be in space. So here the idea is really to make it so it is in space, but it is deeply rooted into heroic fantasy, and where you can feel that the thousands of races that are actually living inside the universe are gonna be interacting, with temples and forges and armors and spell books, all that juicy stuff. So yeah, it brings like basically a base layer for every project. Let's say you want to set up your NFT project or your DAO, and you're looking to find a home world for it. You'll get a spark, you'll mint it, and then you'll be able to customize it to some extent. And basically, this could become the starting point for all of your storyline, and you'll be living with other Starknet projects on that huge grid. So in Arcane, the grids are kind of they're smaller. They're 10 by 10, but there's loads of different grids because it's divided into zones. Here, the idea is to have everybody on the same grid, so it's like a 1000 by 1000, and it's going to be split into 5 different zones, which are called spaces, which are not going to be all accessible at first. You're going to have a certain level to enter certain spaces, and then after that is going to be divided into regions. It's going to be important because it's going to have an impact on what type of things that you can do inside regions, and especially looting certain types of resources, mining, etc. So it is again, another grid. This one is much more straight, but I think there's a lot of things that haven't been done yet with using these grids on chain to interact with each other in a spatial way. So the base mechanics for now, there's going to be obviously some movement on the grid. You'll need some flux to be able to move your homeworld. You can use it to deploy inside the regions. You're gonna use it for crafting, obviously, doing upgrades to your planet, and to form systems, which we'll come to in a minute. And you'll earn it by burning resources. It's a lot. These NFT games, obviously, there's a lot of issues with the economies and inflation. That's a big problem to tackle. And one way to go about it is obviously to have very modular crafting recipes and to make sure that the more you progress in the game, the more you're going to be sinking material, and so you can keep your economy under control. So you'll be at the same time burning the items and using your flux to craft. Hold on, I'll resize the window because you cannot see everything. There we go. As you can see here, each type of homeworld is producing a type of resource, or is actually being useful for production. You will need all types of resources to do certain recipes. So obviously, the goal is to try to nurture communication between people and try to have organic economies that appear, and people trying to exchange with each other, and depending on what type of world you have, you want to be able to find other people so you can achieve your recipes, etc. There's going to be obviously some level up with the crafting system, and as you guys know, like one of the big things that I like to experiment with in NFTs is because we have this scarcity, and not to be afraid to create extreme rarities within the game, not because you want for it to cost a lot for people, but because it brings the universe alive. Because when something is very rare, maybe it's going to be acquired by a group of players, and there's going to be storylines that derive from this, and throughout the game, people moving around and exchanging these rare resources, or some homeworlds being able to place themselves into very specific spots within their talent trees, and being able to produce unique materials for the rest of the galaxy, I think brings like interesting stories for the players. And because of the modular nature of the grid, not only from a resource standpoint, so for example, because it's just a mapping, right? So you could make new mines appear with time, or you could create time-based events on certain tiles at certain points, but also the fact that you could introduce new crafting recipes at all time. It brings you the possibility to scale the game in the long run, and also to have the history that writes itself. So these are like the base mechanics now for the game. People are going to try to evolve their planet as much as possible, get together to craft unique recipes, and control as much space as they can inside the galaxy. There is no PvP element, there is no battle, there is no destruction. For now, it's only point-based and trying to get as much flex as you can while writing your story. When it comes to the grid, and what I meant before by trying to spatially interact with addresses, it would be cool to try to see system where actually, when you have enough planets, you have enough homeworlds, let's say 7 or something, you'll be able to create a system, and that could either be like a mini guild or something else. But by calculating just like a basic geometries with these homeworlds, you should be able to get basically a list of addresses that are standing inside that point. And that could mean that if you're a DAO and you have other people from your community that are on the grid, they could be inside your zone, and you could be hanging together. And when you're inside the zone, you would be on the list for airdrops or any kind of interaction. You could be whitelisted for one of their contracts, etc. So that's definitely like something that I'm digging into a lot, to see how could this spawn new ways to distribute or interact. A second way here to do it on the right is just to scan around one planet instead of doing geometry. As for the planet customization, obviously, because the data storage is still going to be super expensive for us on Starknet. Unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be more than just the name that is stored. But it's super important for people to be able to input as much as they can from their community within their homeworld, and to feel not only that it's theirs, but it's also that it represents them on the grid, like some kind of digital phone book, and everybody can, all the big DAOs are here, or even groups of friends, they're hanging out, they have their flag, they can share some type of adventure together. So having the lore bio for it to be available, links, whatever, in the most decentralized way possible. I'm thinking I'm just going to use IPFS for now. If when I get a better solution or we have a better way to store data, we'll see. But for now, that's the easiest way, I think. And finally, like for now, the plan is just to basically I'm copying the structure I did on the EVM for Arcane for now, just to get the basics started. For the homeworld contract is done already, the resources, but for the Galaxy itself, it's going to be pretty simple, and then I'm gonna keep building on top of it in a composable way inside the project itself as much as I can, and down the way, having a marketplace for people to exchange all these items. Hopefully, something integrated with the game. So that's the basic plan for now. I've done quite a bit of restructuring lately to get started, and now it's about time to move forward with this, and pretty excited. So that's the plan. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for the presentation, Mist. One question I have is, you said there's like no fighting, so does it also mean there's no PvE fighting as well, or is that planned?
So they could be, there is some things to scavenge. So basically, you'll have on certain tiles, you'll have planets that are abandoned where you can go inside and gather some resources. But right now there is no destructive element where like you would need to have an army as well on your homeworld. It's purely an economic game. It's purely like a resource building game, exchange, etc. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. Maybe like I'm sure if you guys have some ideas, I'm very open to it. And if you think that would be fun to be able to battle it out, it's always fun to battle it out. But for now, trying to keep it simple, just to have a super a solid slate to build upon later on.
Got it. I think it does have potential to basically for like different homeworlds to team up and like battle in PvE. So not PvP, but PvE. I think there's potential for people to kind of team up and use their loot that they crafted or that they scavenged, like weapons or whatever, and team up
That's
against.
actually good. 'Cause it would be an even bigger sink for resources, so it's always nice to have indeed.
But just brainstorming really quickly.
Yeah, sure. It's honestly, it's totally possible. It's doable. Maybe some zone control, and they would not be deaf, but just you would be reset and placed maybe in a corner of the map because it takes time and resources for people to move around. The game is very slow, and again, it's just to allow it to happen over months and months and years. So if you would be reset to a corner of the map, it would be very hurtful to your economy, or you would be left out without your friends. You would be outside of the zone that you're in right now, etc.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Do we have questions for Mist and Odyssey?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, for sure.
Is this all open source? Like, are you working on it? Can I maybe contribute?
It's not open source at the moment, just because I never had to collab with somebody, but I'll be happy to put it open source for anybody to see. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, cool project.
Thank you.
Fitzroy, are you a Cairo dev, or what do you do, if I may ask?
Me?
Yeah.
I work at in Gonyama. We build ASICs and FPGAs to accelerate zero knowledge proofs.
Got it.
I'm an engineer.
I see. But you still know Cairo because you asked to contribute?
Actually, I'm really new to Cairo. That's why I'm looking for something to contribute to.
I see. Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other question for Mist? All right. I think we're like 5 minutes from 1 hour on the call. So Takizo, I would like to ask you to come to the call next week.
Yeah, sure, man. No problems.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for being here, for discussing and participating, and thank you to Thomas and to Mist for presenting and talking. It's always great to see what's going on, and see you guys next week. Have a great day.
Take care.